So you guys have made it really clear that you enjoy when I do these answer your questions type videos. So we're going to do another one. I just want to say that I know how it feels to send your question to someone and you want to get it answered and you don't get an answer. So I'm going to do my absolute best to go through as many of the questions as you guys sent in as possible. Even if that means, you know, giving pretty quick answers for a few of them. By the way, my buddy Fish is helping me with editing now so that I can get more videos out a little bit more often. Fish, say hi, people. Fish. Yeah, okay, let's go. No More Heroes 75 says, how do you feel about part-time champions or champions who barely defend their title? For me, it doesn't bother me too much. I think it's important to have a mix. I don't think everybody should be defending their titles all at once, and I obviously don't want them to all be off TV. Since I'm someone who wants there to be mid-card titles for women, preferably two, one additional for SmackDown, one for Raw. If you think about how many total titles that means you have, you can't really have them all be super active, at least in my opinion, in terms of actively defending it. Then it feels like you have nothing but title related stuff on all of your shows. And that doesn't leave any room for, or at least not very much room for those who are not really in the title conversation. So I'm kind of fine with, you know, a good chunk of the titles being, you know, carried around the show. And then I'm cool with having a prestigious, maybe not the title being prestigious necessarily, but, you know, some hot shot like a Roman Reigns holding a title and carrying it around and, you know, showing up to more bigger moments instead of just being there walking around every single week. Lord Buckshot 95 says, have you ever liked a wrestler and when they turn face or heel, you end up not liking them anymore? No, actually, so far in my, you know, smaller sample size, no, I haven't had that issue. If anything, I've only experienced the other way where I wasn't really buying into them or I didn't really feel much about them at all. And then they switched and I felt better. A good example of that would be Drew McIntyre. I thought he was fine. I didn't think much of him as a face anyway. And then when he went heel, now he's one of my favorite heels in the company. PW Skyline V37 says, what got you into wrestling? Have you only watched the current product or have you gone back to rewatch old pay-per-views, older Raw and SmackDown shows? Funny you say that. I am doing that currently right now over on my Patreon. So I have not watched a ton of old matches, but over on the Patreon, a bunch of you guys have gone over there and you are suggesting to me old matches that I need to go back and watch. So, you know, feel free to check that out. I have a free one over there. There's a paid version over there. Just feel free to check it out and you can actually see me go back and watch some of these all-time great matches that you guys have been suggesting. I really just stumbled on it when it was available on Peacock to watch WrestleMania 39. I just kind of threw it on just because I could. And I immediately, pretty much immediately anyway, fell in love with the product. Mr. Dell Jr. says, did you miss an episode or watched all of them talking about SmackDown or Raw episodes after Mania 39? Since my first time watching, which was WrestleMania 39, I have not missed a single weekly show or PLE to date. I'm sure that won't last forever, but so far I have watched every single episode of SmackDown, Raw, and PLE. G-Rez says, a decade ago, we were in an era of short title reigns, a lot of titles being passed back and forth, the championship being a revolving door of talent every month to 3 months. Now we see a lot more reigns going over a year, which makes the titles feel bigger and more prestigious, but allows less spotlight to go around. What do you think is the best length for a title reign? How long would you like to see someone like Cody on top? Best length for a title reign? It's a tough to ask me that question because I've only seen the long era version so far. I don't know what it feels like to see the title change hand, you know, once a month or something like that. But what it feels like, a good title run could be anywhere from like 6 to 10 months. That feels like you can have a really respectful and feel like you feel like you held it for a good amount of time and feel like you at least had enough time to defend it a good chunk of time. I wouldn't mind a few short title reigns, but you know, I've only really known the era of someone, you know, everybody breaking records, so I'm not really 100% sure. But how long would I like to see Cody on top? At least through the next WrestleMania minimum. I would like to at least see him hold it a year. Ryan Evans says, what's your favorite style as a new fan? Strong style, high flying, technical brawler? What's your least favorite? We're not into it. Love high flying, and I love like the really powerful stuff, like the big slams, the big strikes, stuff like that, stuff that really feels impactful. The only thing that really puts me to sleep sometimes is when someone leans too hard into submissions. There are some exceptions to that, but overall submissions are not really for me, at least not in the WWE style. Agent Beard says, regarding the little ID bits for wrestlers, not the Titantrons, Okay, do you like how they are now? Would you be more personalized? Okay, so you're talking about when they walk in, the little name cards that come on the screen. I like the personalized ones. I know what you're talking about. The one I can picture right now is Cody Rhodes, where it's all red, white, and blue, has the skull and everything. What I kind of like, and this might be because I'm new and it's helpful, I like the one where it's like a banner on the side going up and down, and it shows like their name, something about them, and then sometimes they'll put like what their finisher is called. I think that's pretty cool, but again, that's because I feel like I'm gaining knowledge from it. Easy for Real says, what matters to a wrestler to you? Appearance as in physical features, muscle, hair, and all, or their gimmicks? So which is more important to me when I'm looking at a wrestler? Both. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, if by appearance you mean, do I think they're like attractive? Like, do I think they look like good? Not really like that. I guess I mean their appearance. I like when their appearance complements their gimmick. I want to believe that they are, you know, what they're trying to portray themselves as. So yeah, I would say when it comes to their appearance in terms of how they're presenting themselves, I like it to go with their gimmick. But I guess if you maybe pick between the two, it's the gimmick. I want the gimmick to be interesting. Jack Coiler says, do you watch UFC, boxing, or any other combat sports? If not, why? Love the content, man. Thanks. Love the comment. No, I watched a little bit of UFC growing up. There's a couple guys I followed a little bit. I don't even remember their names. I think one was like Uriah Faber. That might be familiar, but overall, I watched a little bit of UFC growing up, but that was mostly because my parents would watch some UFC connected reality show or something. That the real answer is no, I don't really. A little bit when I was growing up, but no, not really. Khaled Katata, sorry, I hope I didn't butcher that. What are your thoughts on star ratings? I mean, other than the ones in, you know, the video game, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on them. I've seen there's a guy named, I think his name is Dave Meltzer or something like that, that gets brought up a lot, and I guess for whatever reason people say that, you know, they take what his ratings are to heart. I don't really get it. So it's not that I like or dislike it, it's that I don't really get what makes a star rating yet. So I don't really have much of an opinion on it. Max O'Malley, oh, he heard me say Max, says, what do you think about Bray Wyatt, even though you didn't really get to see him on TV before he passed? You know, extremely interesting. I really do wish I could have seen, you know, his moments live as they were happening, because it seems like he would have been something. His approach to the WWE and his character seemed like exactly what I would have been interested in. So it is a bummer I didn't get to see that, but I am looking forward to going back on the Patreon and watching some great Bray Wyatt moments. Nadia Hassan says, would you ever consider traveling to an international PLE one day? Sounds expensive, dude. It's expensive. Just the idea of trying to go to a PLE near me. I can't imagine going to an international one. I think that would be really cool though. I would love to if I could afford it. So maybe one day this channel will get to a point where I can put some of it, you know, toward that, and maybe someday. In terms of consider doing it, yes, I would love to, but that's probably out of the realm of possibility anytime soon. Darth Lunas says, have you taken a look at past belts? If so, which ones do you like? No, not really. There was one that was like an Eagle one that I've seen referred to that apparently Cody liked. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really looked back at a lot of them at all. TAWP says, how much do you think a wrestler's entrance and theme song matters? Like the way the crowd reacts and the display and the atmosphere it brings. How much does it matter to you? It means everything to me, because at the end of the day, you know, what are we're not watching because of, we know they're not fighting, so it's about, you know, how much can they get me excited and entertain me. And a lot of times the entrance, them just being there, is a great start. You know, Jey Uso is a great example of someone who just went from being a tag team guy to now just when his music hits, everybody's excited, because now it means pull out your phones with the lights, and then we're going to do the arm thing, and he's going to interact with us. So all of that, it's pretty important to me. I wouldn't say that you have to do all those things for me to think you're a good wrestler or something like that, but I would say those are really effective ways to, you know, get me interested in you just being there. Demi Rodriguez says, you mentioned that you are watching house shows, or that you're watching a house show ringside in June. What other shows or PLE do you plan on going to in the future? I have no other shows past that June one, which I am going to make a video on that June one, because we're going to be doing the whole superstar experience. We're going to do like the meet and greet and everything. So I will be making a video on that. But that's the only one I've got for some time. I don't have any other dates that I think I can really go to that are within reasonable driving distance. The next one might be SummerSlam in Cleveland, which you know, that was my first show was SummerSlam, but that sounds like it'd be expensive, so that's uncertain right now. But I think it'd be cool to go to SummerSlam again. Drew Pierce says, if you could choose any WWE star right now to be a champion, who would you pick and what belt? I sat and thought about this one for a minute. I think Liv Morgan getting the women's heavyweight title on Raw would be the most interesting to me, because that would set up just all the right pieces for when Rhea Ripley returns, with Liv interacting more with Dom, kind of taking Dom at this point, then taking her title. That's probably my pick. I think that sets up for a lot of fun when Rhea gets back. Isaac M says, what type of show would you recommend be someone's first? Raw, SmackDown, PLE, or a house show? If you want to play it safe, go to a house show. It's almost guaranteed to be significantly more affordable. You're going to get great matches. You're going to get recognizable names throughout the entire show. And you're going to get a more high level of an interactive experience. So if that sounds good to you, I'd say go to a house show. It's such a low risk. It's usually smaller venues, so it's not too chaotic. It's a lot of fun. After that, I would say maybe SmackDown, because then it's kind of a blend, because you get more dark matches, the non-televised ones at SmackDown. So then you can get the televised experience and then get to close it out with more matches similar to the house show, where it's a little bit more interactive, you know, stuff like that. But if you're going to go to a PLE, try to sit close, or go to a PLE that's in an arena and not a football field. That's the best advice I can give you for going to a PLE. The Rooster of Doom says, is there a moment, era, or particular wrestler you've heard from where you started watching that you wish you were there for? Bray Wyatt. Easy pick. Bray Wyatt. He feels like what I would have wanted to be if, you know, I got into wrestling early enough to ever be a wrestler. The way he approached his character sounds so much like something I'd be interested in, and I'm really looking forward to going back and watching a lot of his work. FazPie456 on Xbox. How long do you think Cody Rhodes' title reign will last, and who will beat him for it? I think he's going to keep it at least through WrestleMania 41. Who's going to beat him for it? Oh, that's tough, because especially being so far out. But you know, with the teaser we got, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point The Rock takes it from him. But that's a tough question for me. But I think he'll keep it through next WrestleMania. Final Wolf says, if they introduced a women's intercontinental championship, what two superstars would you choose for the first championship match, and who would you have go over? That's a good. Okay, without me looking down the whole roster, Jade Cargill, Nia Jax. Yeah, Jade versus Nia for a mid-card title would go so hard. Who would I have go over? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to answer that one. That's one I'd have more fun discussing. I don't know. It depends. It depends on what's going on at the time, but I think that match would be fire. Sergio Salgado. What makes certain wrestlers appealing to you and others not? Is there a shared quality a lot of them have that makes you interested in them? The ones that just lean into their gimmick, the ones that really lean in and I can believe their character and don't come off as really default. Here, I can give you a shared quality of one I don't like. And at Backlash, I'm gonna make him regret ever using my name. You know what I mean? That general, like, that just very simple, oh, he's gonna regret it, or I'm gonna show him. It's a little bit too simple. I like something a little bit better than that. Maybe I'm asking for too many great actors in wrestling, but that's just kind of where my standard's at right now. Simples Rugs. Are you a fan of any of the new guys coming up the main roster, like Ilya, Carmelo, Breaker? Yeah, Carmelo is the one that I've had the least really showing with. I haven't seen a ton from him yet, but Dragunov and Braun Breaker, I've only seen great things. Braun Breaker I'd like to see in more than squash matches, but I have seen a little bit of his work in NXT already. So yeah, I think there's some really good names coming up this year. Prototype 27. Hi, Proto. What part of the pro wrestling fan experience have you found most confusing or surprising so far? It might be how much I get annoyed by what chants or any attempt for fans to try to ruin a segment or a promo by taking it over. The best example I can give of a moment where I was really actively annoyed with a crowd is when Finn Balor and Seth Rollins were trying to do some really good promo work. And I was so confused why the crowd didn't want to hear what Finn was saying. And all they did was so loudly sing Seth Rollins' song over him. And it would have been such a good segment. And I'm so glad for the rest of that feud. They did the rest of their promos pre-recorded, you know, behind the scenes or backstage or whatever. But I just, like, especially when I'm there, like, I want to hear this. Like, I'm here for this. I don't want to just, it's a little weird. But I mean, I get it. It's fans just being excited, I guess. But I don't know. For me, I want to know what they're saying. Like, especially if the story's got some depth to it. I want this. MJWP, hate your profile picture, by the way. Go Red Wings. Thoughts on the idea of squash matches, like Braun Breaker's first few matches on SmackDown recently, for example. Lots of fans only want competitive match. I think squash matches are a waste. What say you? I like them to a degree. I like them rarely. I don't want to see one every week or anything like that. But I think it's a cool way to give someone who was probably never going to get that TV time just a second to be on screen and take that squash match. I think it's a good way to show that whoever you're now introducing isn't going to be this slowly work their way up kind of superstar. There's someone who, yeah, you need to throw them against someone bigger because this small stuff isn't going to cut it. So I like it in really small doses. What are your thoughts on MJF? Very few thoughts on MJF, but it does seem like he's really great on the mic and he seems exciting, but I've never seen him in a match. I know he's over on AEW, and I'm assuming when I start watching AEW, that's when I'm going to have a bigger opinion on MJF, but it sounds like he's the guy over there. So I'm sure I'll have a bigger opinion on that much sooner. Texas Alamoful. What kept you from watching wrestling as a young child? My family wasn't really cool with it. It's not like there was this big rule that I couldn't or anything like that, but if I would have put it on the TV, the channel would get changed. So it was pretty discouraged. It wasn't loved by the rest of the family, so it was never on the TV. What's your favorite WWE entrance theme so far? Ooh, in terms of the way it makes me feel, Roman's entrance, that's just the slow entry. There's definitely there's an aura that comes with that entrance, and I think that nails it. But just fun ones, either Cody or Seth, both of them a little bit interactive. I like singing the song. I like doing the whoa. I like the ones where the crowd is at this point known to participate. Shinsuke's is another one. Sami Zayn. So all those. Rhiannon O'Donnell, what is a wrestling ick of yours? What chance? Stop doing them. I don't like it. Unprofessional Wrestling Pod. What's your take on CM Punk based on what you know I've seen so far? Curious if I might differ. Great on the mic. Very entertaining on the mic. The little bit I've seen in the ring in current day seems a little weak, but it sounds like it's going to be the kind of wrestler where his on the mic stuff is going to make the matches more interesting because of the story built behind it. I did watch my first full CM Punk match over on the Patreon just this last week, so even then it was a little underwhelming purely from an in-ring standpoint. But since it was Cena versus Punk on that last, it was a Money in the Bank 2011, there was a lot of build-up, and that's what made the match interesting. So I'm guessing that's gonna be what I can expect from CM Punk. KOTV 22, what's your opinion on when someone says a wrestler is being buried or being booked way worse than what people think they should be? I think they're entitled to that opinion. Someone being buried, I think there's an overreaction use of it sometimes. I think LA Knight's an example of that, where a lot of people say, oh, they're burying them just because they're not immediately, putting a title on them. I've seen a lot of people say that you need to capitalize on their hype and give it all to them right now. And I think that's kind of silly, because once you've gotten to the top, you can only go down, or you can stay up there long enough that everybody hates you. So like, I haven't seen that. Yeah, maybe the LA Knight pop isn't, at 2,000 what it was at before, but it's still at like 1,000. And every time he's out there, people are excited. I don't think you need to rush this kind of thing. So maybe I haven't seen enough of a situation of someone being buried to see a good example of that, but that's what I think of when I hear people say that. It's KKJ. What's been your favorite storyline so far and your thoughts on the Bloodline? My favorite storyline has been the Bloodline. That's what got me mostly into watching every week. Coming right out of WrestleMania 39, that was the segment. Those were the segments, and that was the faction that really got me locked in. So the Bloodline, love it. Decade Sports says, what gets you invested in the match? Either a really good story buildup, or if you throw two people in the ring who are just both excellent in-ring people. Like I don't need a story to watch Chad Gable and Gunther. I'd watch that any day of the week. Harold says, what are two random wrestlers from the WWE that we'd like to see team up and form a new tag team, or even 3 more wrestlers to create a new faction? Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green. I'm not even going to elaborate. Do with that what you will, but I think that would be fun. Demi Rodriguez says, what are your thoughts on the Punk and McIntyre feud? I'm just ready for it to get the ball rolling, man. The promos are great, but I am ready for, you know, the actual feud to start. I'm not getting impatient. I'm ready for it. They've done so much cooking already that I'm ready to eat. Goofy Goober 2004 says, what has been your favorite non-PLE match so far? It can be from Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. Literally any time Gable or Gunther had a match, even one of the title ones. Yeah, or maybe the one that Chad Gable won by DQ and actually beat Gunther, and you could see it kind of humble Gunther a little bit. But those matches are just easily my favorite. Matthew Culligan says, have you educated yourself as a new fan of the history of the WWE? Are you watching a certain era in order? As if it were a TV show everyone was watching? No, I definitely am not watching them all like in order or anything. But on the Patreon, I'll give you an example. I was going to watch, so the one that you can watch for free on the Patreon is literally Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. And then a week later, someone suggested to watch Undertaker versus whoever it was at WrestleMania 28. But then everybody chimed in and said, well, if you're going to watch 28, you should, and you've already watched 25, you should really watch 26 and 27 first. So in some cases, yes, I'm kind of trying to watch some, you know, sets in order, but I'm not like going through and watching the whole thing in order or anything like that. Jared Weathers Official, what faction is your favorite? Probably the Bloodline. The Bloodline's had to be the most invested for the longest time. So yeah, easily the Bloodline. Amna Arcade, what is your feeling about Sami Zayn? Easy to root for. Really easily makes he really comes off pretty well as the underdog. Even with the title right now, it still feels like he is constantly seen as that underdog, and maybe that's something that'll wear off if he holds the title for too long. But overall, love Sami Zayn. BSK in charge. Do you wish that you got to wrestling sooner? Are you glad this is your first air as a fan? I'm fine with it. You know, I've said it before where I do wish I got into it earlier, and that could be true, but I am fine getting in while I've still, you know, I'm still young-ish. So I feel like I still have a lot of wrestling to watch ahead of me. And, you know, if I had watched it sooner, I wouldn't have been able to do really what I'm doing right now. I am really enjoying, because of how welcoming the WWE community is, it's been a lot of fun to have you guys show me these matches that mean so much to you guys. And, you know, if anything, it's helping me kind of skip the parts that you guys didn't love. So there's a benefit to starting as late as I did. Donnie says, have you had your first experience of someone saying, you know, wrestling is fake, right? Like it hasn't been public knowledge for decades. I have not had that actually happen to me, but I promise you I've had that fake conversation in my head, so I'm ready for it. First time someone hits me with that in person, I wish I was lying right now when I said I've had that fake argument like in the shower. You know, when you have like, you go back and you run an argument that you had earlier in the day in your head, and you're kind of like, this is what I should have said. That's an argument that I've like practiced. Like, so I'm fully ready to stand up for the WWE and all of pro wrestling the moment that some jerk tries to bring it down a notch or something by saying, you know, it's fake, right? So I'm ready to fight the good fight. Dan0283 says, who do you think is the greatest of all time and the greatest match of all time? Okay, remember who you're asking. Small sample size here, but Roman Reigns and night 2 of WrestleMania 40. I think Roman Reigns changed the game. I think he is the greatest of all time. And I think that final night of WrestleMania 40 was some of the most fun I've had watching any sort of sports or sports entertainment in my entire life. User, who do you think is the most underrated and most underutilized wrestler in the WWE? The correct answer is Finn Balor for both. That's a great answer. If I'm being totally honest, I've been a big Finn Balor fan for a minute. Yeah, I feel like he hasn't been used a ton. He had a little bit of a tag push with Damian, and he did get a title shot against Seth, which I was really rooting for Finn to win that one because I liked his side of, you know, the whole story. You know what? Honestly, you gave a great answer. So I'm going to say, yeah, honestly, probably that. And that's it. That was 42 of your questions. So I hope that that's good. I hope I knocked out most of the ones that came through. We'll probably do this again sometime in the relatively nearest future. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. Thank you guys for being so supportive. Thank you to the patrons that are going up on the screen right now, and I will see you guys in the next one.